Welcome to English Horizon, where learning English is an adventure. Today, we begin the incredible journey of one of modern history's most brilliant and controversial figures, Steve Jobs. Love him or hate him, his story is a roller coaster of dreams, epic failures, ambition, and power. From a college dropout building computers in a garage to the man who put the universe in our pockets, this is the story of Steve Jobs like you've never heard it before. Are you ready? Grab your headphones, sit back, and let's dive into this amazing tale that will improve your English and keep you hooked until the very end. What do a phone, a music player, and the internet have in common? Today, they all live in one single, beautiful device in your pocket, the iPhone. It changed the world. And the man behind it was a genius, a rebel, and a visionary. His name was Steve Jobs. But his story is not just about success. It's a story about passion, failure, and the crazy idea that one person can change the world. This is the story of the man who thought differently. Steve Jobs was born in San Francisco in 1955. From a young age, he was curious and smart, but he was also a little bit of a troublemaker. He didn't like school. He found it boring. He wanted to learn by doing things, by taking them apart and putting them back together. His father's garage was his first laboratory. There, he learned about electronics, and he fell in love with making things. In high school, Steve met someone who would change his life, Steve Wozniak, or Woz. Woz was a true electronics wizard. He was shy and quiet, but he could build amazing things. Steve Jobs was the opposite. He was not a technical expert, but he had big ideas and he knew how to talk to people. He had vision. Together, they were the perfect team. Woz had the technical skill and Jobs had the dream. After high school, Steve went to college, but he dropped out after only 6 months. It was too expensive and he didn't see the point. Instead, he decided to only attend the classes that interested him. One of those classes was calligraphy, the art of beautiful writing. At the time, it seemed useless, but years later, this class would become incredibly important. It taught him about beauty, art, and design. In 1976, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started a company. They started it in the garage of Jobs' parents' home. They called it Apple. Their idea was simple but revolutionary. At that time, computers were huge, expensive machines used only by big companies and governments. Jobs had a different idea. He wanted to make a computer that was small enough to fit on a desk and simple enough for anyone to use, a personal computer. Woz built their first computer, the Apple I. It was just a circuit board. You had to build the case yourself. But it was a start. Then came the Apple II, and it was a huge success. It was one of the first computers that came in a friendly plastic case. It had color graphics. It was a computer for homes and schools, not just for experts. Apple became a big company very fast. Steve Jobs, who was only in his early 20s, became a millionaire. With success came bigger dreams. Steve wanted to build the most beautiful, most amazing computer the world had ever seen. He called it the Macintosh. He was obsessed with every detail. The way it looked, the way it sounded, the way the mouse moved on the screen. He pushed his team incredibly hard. He would yell at them, but he also inspired them to do the best work of their lives. He wanted it to be perfect. The Macintosh, released in 1984, was the first popular computer with a mouse and a beautiful graphical user interface. The things we see on our computer screens today, icons, windows, folders, the Macintosh made them popular. The calligraphy class Steve took? It inspired the beautiful fonts on the Macintosh. But Steve's passion also created problems. He was difficult to work with. He was a perfectionist and he could be very demanding. The people running Apple, the business people, didn't like his style. They thought he was too emotional and was spending too much money. In 1985, after a power struggle, the unthinkable happened. The company that Steve Jobs created fired him. He was out. He was only 30 years old. Losing Apple was devastating. He felt like a public failure. For a while, he didn't know what to do. But inside him, the fire of creation was still burning. He realized something important. He still loved what he did. So he decided to start over. He started a new computer company called Next. The Next computer was very advanced, very powerful, and very beautiful. But it was also very expensive. It didn't sell well. It was not a big commercial success. But it was a very important chapter in his life. At Next, he learned how to be a better manager and a better leader. At the same time, he bought a small computer graphics company. This company was called Pixar. At first, Pixar sold high-end computers for animation. But Steve had a bigger idea. He believed they could use their technology to make the world's first completely computer-animated movie. It was a huge risk. They spent years and a lot of money developing the technology and the story. In 1995, that movie was released. It was called Toy Story. And it was a massive global success. Pixar became a giant in the world of entertainment. Steve Jobs had proven that he could succeed even without Apple. While Steve was building Next and Pixar, Apple was in trouble. Without Steve's vision, the company was lost. They were making too many confusing products. They were losing money. They were close to dying. In 1997, in a desperate move, Apple decided to buy Steve's company Next. And with that, Steve Jobs returned to the company he had started in his parents' garage. When he came back, he saw a company in chaos. He immediately started making big changes. He simplified everything. He cut the number of products from over 300 to just 10. He told his team to focus on making only a few products, but to make them great. He brought back the passion and the focus on design. His first big product after returning was the iMac. It was a computer that looked like nothing else. It came in bright, fun colors. It was beautiful from every angle. It was designed for the Internet. The I in iMac stood for Internet. The iMac was a huge hit. It saved Apple, and it was just the beginning. Steve Jobs then looked at the world of music. People were downloading music illegally. Music players were clunky and difficult to use. Steve saw an opportunity. In 2001, he introduced the iPod. Its slogan was simple: 1,000 songs in your pocket. It was small, beautiful, and incredibly easy to use. Combined with the iTunes Store, it completely changed the music industry. Apple was not just a computer company anymore. But his biggest revolution was yet to come. Steve saw that everyone carried three things: a phone, a music player, and a device for the Internet. He asked a simple question: can we put all of these into one device? People thought it was impossible. But in 2007, Steve Jobs stood on a stage and introduced the world to the iPhone. It was a phone with a revolutionary touchscreen. It was an iPod that could play widescreen videos. And it was a device that gave you the real Internet, not a simplified mobile version. It changed everything. It created the modern smartphone industry and put Apple at the center of the technology world. After the iPhone came the iPad, creating yet another new category of device. Under Steve's leadership, Apple became one of the most valuable and admired companies in the world. He was a master presenter, a brilliant marketer, and a leader who inspired absolute loyalty and incredible creativity. Sadly, Steve Jobs fought a long battle with cancer. He passed away in 2011 at the age of 56. The world lost one of its greatest visionaries. Steve Jobs' story is a lesson for all of us. He once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards." His calligraphy class, getting fired from Apple, building Next and Pixar, all these dots connected to create his incredible second act. His life teaches us that we must have passion for what we do. It teaches us that failure is not the end, but an opportunity to learn.
And it teaches us to listen to our inner voice. He famously ended a speech by saying, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It means always want to learn more and always be brave enough to try new, crazy things. That is the legacy of Steve Jobs, the crazy one who believed he could change the world.